Hey everybody, and welcome back. If you're here, there is a good chance that you are interested in improving your business, your productivity, even your communication, and for sure, your sales. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. A simple and often overlooked strategy that I think can really help you improve on a day-to-day basis. Have you ever noticed that extremely successful people seem to have an endless well of knowledge that they can tap into? They're always quoting people, or they're talking about frameworks or systems, and it seems that they are extremely well read. And Ryan Holiday just addressed this in one of his newsletters. Being well read doesn't mean that you've read a lot of books. It means that you remember a few books that are really good. Now, what are the right books? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. What I want to do is I want to walk through a few steps that you can take to build your board of authors, or as I like to call it, a board of directors. This is going to give you a wealth of knowledge that you can continuously look back on, you can continuously draw from to help you make decisions and have conversations throughout the day. As per usual, we're going to start with why. So grab a cup of coffee and dig in, and let's talk about why you need a board of advisors or a personal board of advisors. First off, it's about going beyond a single read. I've read hundreds of books at this point, and some of them are just great books. And I read it once and I put it on a shelf and it looks pretty there and I totally like it. It doesn't mean that I didn't pick up something from it. It doesn't mean that I didn't like it. It meant that I read it once and it's done. But this is about going beyond the single read. This is a person or a author or a book that really speaks to you at a particular time in your life. For me, this was Yvon Chouinard's book, Let My People Go Surfing. I probably went through that thing several times on Audible. I bought the physical version and I go back to it all the time. It's foundational if you're trying to start a business in my particular mindset. But another reason why you want to do this, besides going beyond the single read, is because you want to build a board of advisors, somebody that you can go back to, some people, some authors that you want to go back to, that you can go back to on a regular basis and help you make all of the decisions that you need to make. And I'm not talking about just reading one book by the author. I'm talking about watching interviews. I'm talking about listening to YouTube channels about, from this person, and really digging into the way that they talk, the way that they like to use their own systems, the stuff that they put in place for this, and then really dig into that. And then another reason to do this, the third reason and the final reason I'll give you, is actually to combat information overload. Quite honestly, there are a ton of books out there, and there are a ton of books on different topics. And if you pick a topic, you can probably find 15 different people that wrote a book that are in a lot of ways similar. I myself have written a sales book, but I can't say that there are concepts in that sales book that are altogether genuine and new. Now, my take on those things are genuine and new. My particular perspective is included in that book, and that's not something you're going to get from anywhere else. So if you're interested in that, you can read my book, but if you're not interested in that, then read another book. And that's the thought process, is that in this case, what we want to do is we want to hone in, not necessarily on having a ton of information, because it's really difficult for us to look over that. It's really difficult for us to go back to that when we truly need it. What we want to do is we want to get a set of informations, a set of 5 or so people that we're going to constantly go back to their knowledge and their thought process, their system and what they do, so that we can make ultimate decisions based on that. Curating your board and your core strategies is a big portion of how you're going to get this done. So first off, identify your key growth area. I have a chapter in my book where I talk about mentors, and a mentor has to be somebody who has been where you want to go. So you need to find books, you need to find authors and thought leaders that are people who you believe can get you to where you want to go in this world. It's important to make sure that they have the knowledge that you're going to need. Like I said before, I like Yvon Chouinard and I like his book, but I don't necessarily know that I would go back to that book if I was looking to build sales funnels, because he doesn't talk about that. That isn't what he does. So I think it's super important to make sure that you identify your areas and what's important to you, so that as you're building this board of advisors, you can make sure that they have the knowledge and skills to give you what it is that you need. Now, as you build this wealth of knowledge, I want to invite you to think deeply and seek depth, not just breadth. We're not looking for someone who's written 13 volumes on something. That's great. But the reality of it is that we want someone who can deep dive into the topics that you're invested in. And I want you to use this, as Ryan Holiday says, to have a conversation with the author. I want you to get a pen and underline, or a highlighter, and highlight, like we used to do when we were in school, the important parts of a chapter. Have a conversation with this. I always go back to the Gilmore Girls, one of my favorite shows. We watch it just about every year. And in that, Rory, the youngest, is reading to the grandfather about the newspaper, and as she reads over some stock advice or something like that, he's like, oh, rubbish. Like, this is your chance to have a conversation with that author. This is your chance to write in the margins and talk about what it is that you're thinking, and then go back to it later and see if it withheld the test of time. And then that is actually the third part of this, is making sure that it does withstand the test of time through trial. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this book and you're going to dig into it, and you're going to deep dive into it, and you're going to absorb the knowledge from this author. You're going to watch interviews with him. You're going to read other texts from him, other reports and everything like that. And you're going to see if it is something that makes sense to you. And then you're going to try it out when you go into the real world. And if you find out that it's really not relevant to what it is that you're trying to do, or maybe the information is slightly antiquated or something like that, well, you're going to have to either adjust, or you might have to find somebody new that you're going to use on your board of advisors. This isn't a board of advisors that may last you a lifetime. You may have to change. You may have to get to a different system in your life, and suddenly it's important to have somebody different that you're going to talk to. So make sure that you understand that it's not set in stone. The world is ever changing, and you are ever changing. So this board of advisor is going to be ever changing, but that means that you start the process over. You identify a new person that has your key growth strategy. You go in depth into what they're doing, and you put it to the test every time, all the time. So how do we put this into our daily action? How do we use this board of advisors now that we have it? First off, deep reading and note-taking. When you are journaling, if you journal, which I highly suggest you do if you're not already doing that, you're seeing the world through some of these board of advisors. You're using their knowledge and skills to make sure that it is something that you want to put in place. And you're constantly reviewing that process to make sure that you're following the wisdom and knowledge, or it didn't get bastardized as you were going through the process and stuff like that. So regular review and reflection is important, as well as we mentioned before, deep reading, making sure that you truly understand the concepts. And then lastly, it's about applying the frameworks that you have learned. So apply it, actually put it into process in the real life. It's not enough to read Yvon Chouinard's book and understand that what he was trying to build in Patagonia was a responsible company. And he realized halfway through that that's nearly impossible, especially for a clothing company, because no matter what they do, they have to take. So what he found was that he had to educate people on how they wore their clothes and how they took care of their clothes. And then they had to build clothes that would last for a really long time, and then not get rid of any warranties if a person tried to fix it. It really is a good book. I'm selling it pretty well here, I think. But the truth is that you have to apply the framework into your actual business. So I have in my own businesses applied this framework and tried to do as little harm as possible. And we didn't make money the bottom dollar. We made the relationship that people have to our service the bottom dollar. So always apply those principles and those frameworks from your board of advisors, and make sure that you're still on par with them that's a great way to review and make sure that you're following their tutelage. Now, creating your board of directors is super important, and quite honestly, it is foundational. It's incredibly foundational for you to move to the next world or the next phase of whatever process that it is you're trying to do. But sometimes you need a little bit of extra help. And when that's the case, I highly suggest that you work with a coach. I myself am a coach, and I help people achieve all types of goals. Everything from inside of your business to IT transformation to financial planning. It's all about mindset is what I have found about when I'm working these things through. And the truth is that I would love to hear from you. There's a link in the description below, and I'd love to hear from you. If you need help fixing a goal or finishing a goal or even setting a goal, I can absolutely help with that. Click on the link below, set up some time. The first conversation with me is always free. We're just gonna build some rapport. We're gonna make sure that I can help you. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But I have a good feeling that if you give us a call, we'll be in a good place and we'll be able to help you get to where you wanna go. So that's it. That is building your personal board of advisors. It's super important to you. It's foundational as far as getting some information into your life and as far as using and having a wealth of knowledge to always be able to step back on. I've given you the ideas and the ways that you can put this out there. So I'm super excited to see what you do with it. Let me know in the comments below if you like this video, if you didn't like the video, or if you just don't like my green couch. That's perfectly fine with me. Just let me know in the comments. The algorithm loves that stuff. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because that also helps the algorithm. The truth is that if you like this, if you give me a comment, if you share it, all of those things help the algorithm and help this small channel grow. So I super duper appreciate that, and I appreciate you watching. Goodbye.